Yeah, absolutely. Rakeem Christmas was phenomenal last night. And I mean, he had a shaky couple games before that. Duke did him in pretty good, although I mean, it was just his points that were down in Duke. You look at the rest of his numbers, his rebounds, his blocks, they were all there. But last night everything kind of came together for him. It helped that Wayne Blackshear got in really early foul trouble for Louisville, which made Montrezl Harrell, their big guy, their star player. Speaking of star player, Chris Jones obviously out for them, a big key for them. But Christmas going in against Harold, getting one-on-one with him. Christmas is going to beat most guys one-on-one. It doesn't really matter who you're going to throw at him with his improvements this year. So, I mean, 29, huge game for him, obviously. And we look to continue that for him to feed it into Pittsburgh this weekend.
Definitely a huge game for all of the front court players for Syracuse. Michael Benajay, Tyler Robeson, and Christmas combined for 60 of Syracuse's 69 points. Incredible performance from those guys. What really stood out to me was the free throw shooting from those big men. Christmas, 11 of 13. Benajay, 5 of 6. Roberson, 5 of 8. This team shooting 65% from the line this season. They shot 78% from the line last night. Was that a difference?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, when you make Christmas by himself makes 11 free throws, and you add on to the rest of that. When you shoot above, say 70%, it makes a huge difference. These guys going into this game, I mean, Syracuse has struggled from the free throw line for years and years and years. They haven't been good free throw shooting, especially their bigs. And Rakeem Christmas has really turned that around this year for them. And he's the one that's shooting most of their free throws. When you're going to pound it in down low, he's the one that's going to get fouled. Mike did a very good job near the end of the game, taking it strong, and he did a good job hitting his free throws. 51% free throw shooter this year. Obviously not good at all from a guard, especially a guy who's kind of manning the point. But when you hit free throws, it brings a whole new level to your game, and that's the difference between losing a game by 4 and winning this game by 10, is your play from the free throw line.
Another thing that really stood out was the rebounding. Syracuse lately hasn't been rebounding that well, but last night 31 boards, Louisville had 32, but when you're looking at those numbers and you have a team that is rebounding just one less team that struggled rebounding all season, it really helps getting those second chance opportunities and taking away those second chance opportunities.
Absolutely, and a big part of that was Tyler Roberson. I don't know if inconsistent probably is the right word for him. You know, he's not steady at all, but he shows flashes. And last night was another big flash for Tyler Roberson. If he could work on getting his jump shot out to 14, 16 feet, he could have a tremendous year next year. Obviously very talented, flies through the air. Maybe not quite like Jeremy Grant did, but in that sense, he glides. He's very smooth. So he just kind of has to put it all together. Rakeem Christmas took a couple years, you know? It's not until his senior year he's really put it all together. If Roberson could one-up that, maybe next year, his junior year, get a little effort with all the freshmen coming in, Cooney coming back. Benajay, you got to look at him maybe going to the NBA now. Who knows? He's really come on strong. I do hope he's back. I do think he will come back unless something magical happens for him. But Roberson could be a very big key for this team next year.
You mentioned Louisville's Chris Jones out last night. Cardinal Montrezl Harrell, their big guy inside, led all scorers last night at the half with 12 points. He only scored 15 in the game.
Yeah, they did a great job on him in the second half. The fouls also hurt him. Picked up 2 quickies. Him and Blackshear had 4 right away. I think right around the 16, 17-minute mark, they both had 4 in the second half. And there's no choice for Patino. They had to sit him. It was 7 or 8 minutes left in the game, so they gave him a hefty time to come back in. Blackshear fouled out very quickly after that. Wayne Blackshear, I don't know if you saw his stat line, 0 points, 0 rebounds, and 0 assists with 2 turnovers and 5 fouls fouling out of the game. Just something you don't expect from Wayne Blackshear.
Yeah, definitely not. He's a guy that's averaging around 10, 11 points a game, so that's definitely something you can't see out of a player like that. I think around the 9-minute mark is really when Syracuse took over. Ball off the leg of Tyler Robeson down on the under the Louisville basket. They got 2 seconds on the shot clock. Air ball, a jumper. Syracuse transitions nicely, gets the ball to Christmas, easy 2. Another defensive stop for Syracuse, down to Christmas, easy 2. And that's when Montrezl Harrell and Wayne Blackshear were in foul trouble.
Absolutely. One more thing I want to add on to this game is how great they hustled. That play in the first half from Mike Benajay to take away the easy dunk, I mean, has to be in consideration for play of the year. Not only does he make the dunk, gets back up after he kind of falls into the crowd, comes back down, dribble drive, and scores the bucket on the other end. 2 ways for Mike Benajay on that, and he had a tremendous game last night. He's had a tremendous, maybe last month now, and he's come on strong as one of the top players in the ACC.
Yeah, I really agree with you. He's a kid that obviously went to Duke, transferred here, and a lot of emotion last weekend against Duke. You know, dropped a career high, 29 points. Really dominated that game, and he's just taken on that leadership role. A guy at the beginning of the season, Rakeem Christmas, was the one who everyone was leading on, and now Rakeem has a little bit of support in Mike Benajay.
Now, when you're talking about support, Another guy you got to come up with here is Trevor Cooney, who was just absolutely terrible last night. And has been for the last couple games. Everyone knows I'm the biggest Trevor Cooney fan there is. I love this kid. I think he can do really great things, and he has obviously shown flashes of brilliance. But last night he was 1 of 9 from 3-point land, which is his go-to. That's it. Let him shoot. Shooter's going to shoot. I want him to take the shots. He was 1 of 9. 6 or 7 of those were wide open, and he just brick. I'm saying to myself as I'm watching this game, I'm like, oh yeah, great shot, Trevor, brick. And I don't know what it is. Is it a confidence issue? Is he got to see it go through a couple times? But if they could get him going, this team could be dangerous. This team could put up a fight against the Dukes, against the Virginias, and who knows? But right now we're getting nothing from Trevor Cooney.
Don't know too many of my fans know this, but you know this. I hate Trevor Cooney. He's a practice player to me, and he's shined in moments. He's scored. Tied the record for most three-pointers hit in the game in Syracuse, 9 three-pointers against Notre Dame last year. The problem is the kid's hot or cold. 1 of 9 last night, Mike Benajay hit 5 in a row against Duke the other day. If Mike Benajay's hitting 5 in a row, Trevor Cooney has to be able to hit better than 1 of 9.
Absolutely. And, who knows what we can do to fix that? There's no doubt this kid's getting his shots up in the gym every day at practice. Boeheim obviously has confidence in him still. There's not really a choice at this point. Although saying that, Ron Patterson played some pretty productive minutes last night, which I was very shocked about. And speaking of productive minutes, you saw on the stat shine, Chino Boko got 5 minutes, only used up 1 personal foul, though. I would have liked to see him be a little more physical. You're going to get out there. You got 5 fouls. Use them up. But Cooney, who knows what we're going to do with him. Obviously, he'll be back next year. And he can be a very good senior leader on this team. Just got to find some more consistency.
Guy who will not be back next year as Rakeem Christmas. It was just announced the other day that he's been placed on the watch list of 15 centers for the first ever Kareem Abdul-Jabbar Center of the Year award.
Yeah, deservedly so as well. You saw Pitino last night after the game in the press conference said he's the most feared low post player in college basketball. Not in the ACC, not in anything, in college basketball. That Rakeem Christmas is the most feared low post player. Coming from Rick Pitino means huge things.
Yeah, definitely a huge thing. I think that it's going to be interesting to see how this award kind of plays out across the end of the year. Obviously, there are guys at Duke like Okafor who's going to give his shot to win this award. This award is actually going to be picked by the Basketball Hall of Fame's selection committee, and Abdul-Jabbar himself are actually going to weigh in on picking this award. So it's going to be interesting. By the end of March, we should see the list narrowed down to 5. The winner should be announced mid-April. So it's going to be interesting. Obviously, Christmas, one of the highlights of Syracuse's season this year.
Yeah, one of the few, especially with the band coming. You're not going to the postseason. He's putting everything he has out in the line, and he deserves this. I hope he does well in it.
I think that while Syracuse Nation here, Orange Nation, really enjoyed the Syracuse-Louisville game, the game of the night probably wasn't Syracuse-Louisville. It probably was taking place down in Durham, North Carolina, where the UNC Tar Heels traveled to Duke.
The whole 15-minute bus ride.
The whole 15-minute bus ride to take on a number 4 Blue Devils team who's won, after last night's overtime win, 6 straight. UNC has lost 4 of their last 5.
Yeah, you say that, and they have lost 4 or 5. The ACC is a gauntlet, though. These 4 losses at Louisville, home against Virginia before the Justin Anderson injury, at Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's a little down this year, but playing in the Pete is hard for anyone. That place goes nuts. And then at Duke, are there 4 losses in those 5 games? Are any of those really like, oh, you should win that? Maybe the Pitt one comes the closest to that, but other than that, the ACC is tough competition, and everyone's going to go through stretches. Then you get their next 4 games. They get Georgia Tech twice, Miami, and North Carolina State. If they lose one of them, come talk to me. Now we're in trouble.
They've played well, and like you said, that ACC is a real challenge, especially this year with the Syracuse team who's not going to the postseason, but they're playing like they want a shot to go to the postseason. So they've really picked it up. Jay Billis called the game last night with Dan Schulman, and he said after the game that it was not the Cameron Crazies last night. It was the Cameron Insanes.
And anyone who watched that game could tell you. And they come out to funky music, little girl songs they're all chanting to, but every one of them is up and at you every single second of the game. I still haven't gotten down there. Obviously need to get down there, hopefully for a Syracuse game at some point during my career. But those guys are nuts. They deserve everything they get, fan sections and everything. I realize the small stadium helps them out a lot. They couldn't do this in the Carrier Dome, but for what they got, they do a hell of a job.
Yeah, those fans were out there, some of them out there for camping longer than a month to get inside of that game. Not every student at Duke gets a ticket into the game. They have to line up, and those first ones do get the tickets. Here at Syracuse, the dome's so big that you can show. I showed up half an hour before the Duke-Syracuse game and got a seat. Not a great seat, but got a seat. So the fact is these kids are out there all the months in advance trying to get their seats at Duke. So a question to you real quick before we head to our music break. Kentucky right now, top team in college basketball. There's a couple teams that might make a run at them come tournament time. I think the two maybe at the top right now that have a shot are Wisconsin, Duke. Who do you think has a better shot?
I think Wisconsin has a much better shot. One of those things has to do. Last night you saw Duke. They had seven bench points all game long. Every single starter scored in double digits. Tyus Jones, Quinn Cook, 22 apiece. Speaking of Tyus Jones was just absolutely phenomenal last night. 7 boards, 8 assists to go on with that 22. Nuts game. You saw Okafor, a little bit of an ankle injury there at the end of the first half. UNC comes right back. They don't have the depth that I think Wisconsin has with their bigs, although they have Grayson Allen, they have Plumlee on the bench, but they just can't get productive minutes out of them right now. When you look at Wisconsin, you've got Sam Decker, and you've got who I think the best player in the nation is in Frank Kaminsky. He's unstoppable. He creates matchup problems. All of them can hit from outside. They have the low post game. They do it all. And Bo Ryan, absolutely phenomenal coach, fundamentals down pat. And they're doing this without Travion Jackson, who's their starting point guard. So I don't know how you... I mean, Duke is obviously talented, but I think Wisconsin causes the matchup problems for Kentucky.
All right, follow-up question. If Wisconsin is the bigger threat to Kentucky than Duke is, does Wisconsin have a shot at beating Kentucky?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And especially come tournament time. Obviously, these teams wouldn't play otherwise. But when you get into the NCAA tournament, it's just a totally different ball game. Everyone knows you lose and you go home. Kentucky, for all the talent that they have, and it's incredible, they're young. They're always young. That's the thing about Kentucky. You know, these guys are going right to the NBA. They're bringing in the most talented crop of freshmen every year. John Calipari does an excellent job, but they haven't been there before. And obviously, these kids like playing together. You got a little bit of veteran leadership, like Willie Cauley-Stein on the inside. He's been through it, but he hasn't been the guy before. Frank Kaminsky's a senior. Sam Decker, junior, senior, upperclassman. These guys, they just win. They know how to win. They've been winning for a long time. And I'm going to go again. Bo Ryan. I think Bo Ryan can outcoach John Calipari any day of the week.
The youth, like you said, at Kentucky, they're young every year. They have the number 1 recruiting class coming in next year. It's going to be interesting to see Syracuse. They'll have those veterans coming back next year in Cooney, possibly Mike Benajay, Tyler Robeson, but they're also bringing in a great crop of young athletes.
For the first time in a long time. So, you know, you got 4 guys already, 2 more guys that are looking to get here. Who knows what the scholarship situation looks like. We mentioned that last week. But for the first time in a long time, they have a truly big group of impact freshmen. And it'll be fun to watch, that's for sure. I'm excited.